My name is Ashish, and the person handing out is Nitish, our buyer's agent based in Melbourne. Thank you for that. Um, Thank you all for coming. I'm just wondering, what's the expectation? Learning more about property, just the three pillars, or anything else? Can I see the hands? How many of you are investors or homeowners? Awesome. So it's in one way or the other we involved in property. What I'm going to cover today is the three pillars: why, what, and where, and then then we're going to cover how and when. Um, so basically, buying property, I've been doing that since 2015, fairly for myself, for friends, family, and then going with the buyer's agent business. We're doing about 6 to 8 a month. So I've spent a good 9 years in Australian real estate. I've learned a lot around Australian property statistics, came with an open mind. I've mentored a lot of people, consulted. That's how we built a team. For myself, I've done about 8 properties. Jumped into my 4th development between our own team in 3 countries and multiple states across Australia and other countries. We own about 24 properties across the team. That's fairly, I don't want to cover too much time. The presentation would be shared with you, and I'm also going to share the presentation with you later. But that's fairly what I've done. Started buying really reasonable properties because I was only on a $75,000 household income. So started small. My last few purchases, this one's in Victoria, bought for $720, already reached $950 in about a year's time now, year and a half. The last one I bought in Perth, that's our dream come true, bought an oceanfront land and we're going to build on it. And we're doing a bit of subdivisions, but that's just to churn the cash, which happens in the in the later journey of your portfolio building. So that's what our team is at this point. We're a 3-year young business. Because of these stats, because of the data, because of what we are buying, everyone's gaining, and that's how we've been able to ramp up the team. We headquartered in Northwest in Sydney. We do residential, commercial, investor, owner, occupiers. And yeah, as I've said, while we prepare this presentation, there are 2 more properties added to to our team's portfolio. All right, so you've been handed over the workbooks. I think when we are building our portfolios, what's really important is to understand why we are buying. I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but I think once you have your why defined, it can be anything for anyone, but once your why is defined, you always work towards that goal. I have written it on a piece of paper. What's important to me is my family. What's important to me is adding value. What's important to me is financial freedom. At the end of the day, spending more time with kids, which I'm still doing, but yeah, it can't be less. The more time you spend, the more you enjoy. But at the end of the day, someone wants to step down, you can add your own why. There's space in the worksheet. As I've said, I've written it. I view it every single day, every single morning. That keeps me motivated. The second thing is end vision. What's important is what you are progressing towards. A goal is really important. Over a period of last 150 consultations that I've done in last 2.5 years, that's what I've seen people coming up with their end visions. I want X number of properties. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I want X in desired income. Ideally, that's something that I would look at is what's more important to me. I want X amount of cash. $1 million in cash. How long will that take you? Not more than 6-7 years. Cash in itself means nothing. It will devalue with inflation. I want to retire in 10 years. That's awesome. How much money you want to spend for that? The more you spend, the more you earn at the end of the day. I want my partner to step down and spend time with family. I want that too. Who doesn't? Can anyone resonate with these facts? Awesome. I can see people nodding. Look, ideally, what I like to do is secure the money in assets, and those assets return you something which becomes something that you manage your lifestyle with. Ideally, that's the situation where anyone wants to be in. That's how I've started with my goals. How to set, what to set, and then finally how to achieve. We short on time. I have to wrap it up in 15-20 minutes, but afterwards, if you have any questions, just feel free to pop in our booth right towards the left corner, but I'd love to answer all your questions there. But look, that's how the goal setting happens. At the end of the day, what I'd ask is, someone says, what should I buy? It's not an easy answer. I would ask, how far are you from your own journey? What does journey looks like? I'd say, what sort of income you want to be on? If you're still not sure, I'd ask, what income you need today if you have to retire? Many people say $10,000. I'd say I can have 7 more family members and still survive on that amount. For me, 3 to 4,000, if your loans are paid off, if your house is paid off, is more than enough. Again, managing with a very reasonable sort of lifestyle. We're talking 20 years down the line, or 25 for many, or 10. Add inflation. What is it? An average of 3%, which means whatever is X now becomes 2X in 24 years' time. So if I need $4,000 today, I would need 8,000 in those dollars. Again, I'm just talking numbers in the air, but there are better plans when we onboard our clients to different systems. But she's excited. I like it. So let's say I need $100,000 at the end of 20 years. I'll assume residential property as an asset class gives me about 4%, right? So what I have $100,000 as an income. I've got 4% returns. Your asset class may give you better. I'll talk to property. I'll stick to property. And then I now know my asset value should be about $2.5 million fully paid out. At 4%, my return becomes $100,000, right? I've added something. What happens if the return goes better than 4%? But I'll revisit that figure. Does everyone understand what I've just said? Less nods. Okay, I know these are a lot of numbers, but the idea is to generate the income, and from the income you should know the value of your assets. Just simple but not simple. The start and situation. Now this is where I would go and understand who's in what position. Doesn't matter what your income is. Again, my take is what's more important is what your savings is. Someone can earn $100,000 and still save $3,000 a month. Someone can earn $500,000 and still not save $3,000-4,000 a month. What's important is where you are in your income producing journey, how are you managing your savings, and finally, what's your position when you're building out a portfolio for yourself. Are you starting? Are you a rent investor? I own multiple properties, but I'm still renting. Some people will say rent money is dead money. Even my own team says that, which is fine. It's just my strategy. Do you want to upgrade your own home? I've seen builders who are buying a home. That's all right, don't worry. Who are buying a home, upgrading, selling, making more money, and moving to the next one. It's whatever strategy works for anyone. What's important is just to figure out how to achieve it. Once we've got that understanding, we understand what the assets could be. Again, what price point we want to go for, what sort of rental it should give. Now, someone earning $500,000 and buying 400K properties, I don't see why. The more assets you have, the more time it's going to consume from your end. But when you're starting out on lower incomes, yes, reasonably priced properties work really well. It actually works wonders for most. But I won't spend much time on this. Now, as I've said, I'll send you the presentation after today, maybe in 3 or 4 days' time. This is something that I've defined. Again, I split my strategy into 2 phases. Phase 1 is acquisition. Phase 2 is growth. It's a very lame strategy, if you put it that way. But the idea is, when you are consolidating your assets, our goal was, what we defined was 2.5 million. Can be for XYZ. It was for me as well. For that 2.5 million, I'll focus on acquisition first. If I'm buying a property a year or every 2 years, it's going to take me about 8 years because those properties would grow in value. It's going to take me about 5 to 8 years to achieve that 2.5 million gross net worth. It doesn't matter even if your loan is 90% at that point, provided you can borrow. So let's say I started with 0. I reached 2.5 million in assets. The loan is still 2.25, but don't worry, it will go off eventually. And that's why people say, I can keep continuing to pay the principal into my owner-occupied property and still make money through my portfolio. How? Because of this phase. And that's why everyone says it's important to be built into the market as much as you can. Why? Again, it's a simple rule of 72, just for math people. If you divide 72 by the number of years you invested, you get the growth. If you divide by growth, you get number of years your property will double in value. So 72 by 6, you get 12, right? It takes 12 years for your property to double in value if it's growing at 6% year on year. Where does 6% comes from? Australian average as per RBA is 6.8%. I've taken a conservative figure. The moment I finish my acquisition, let's spend 12 more years, 8 and 12, 20. This portfolio doubles in value. Again, as I've said, it's the lamest strategy I can come up with, but it's easy to achieve and easy to explain as well. This is still a worst case strategy because I'm thinking you're not paying any principal during the growth phase. You are not acquiring anything in your growth phase. Your rents would go in value, usually 5 to 6% again, which means around here, when you are 8, 9 years into your journey, 10 years, your rents are capable to pay your principal amount as well. And that's why people buy multiple properties. It's not a race, it's just individuals' goals, right? So once, let's say you finish 20 years, this is the call when you have to take whether you want to exit the portfolio because it has doubled in value. So 2.5 becomes 5 or 4.5 for that matter. Maybe you still don't get 6%, but 2.25 loan remains the same, right? So your LVR dropped to 45% in this case from 90%. And this is your strategy. What helped me was growth, because I really need growth as a crux of my portfolio. What I also need is cash flow, because that will help you sustain and maintain your lifestyle. Now, going back to where I came, if I can improve this 4% yield to 6%, because in the later part of journey I'm buying cash flow oriented properties, I can knock off my goal from 2.5 million to 1.6 million. So the better the growth, the better your cash flow would be eventually. But it's a balance, right? And that's why your next assets, when your portfolio is maturing, can be more cash flow oriented. Again, as I've said, I've just added an example. This example is you're buying one property a year for $500,000. For many, it's achievable. For those, if it's not, it's still achievable with time. We just need to give it time. This just gives an example. The green thing is, if you're buying a property a year for $500,000, for example, it's growing after 15 years exactly. Sorry, it's a bit blurred. When you sell your first 3 properties, the money that you get is more than your debt. You've still paid out and generated an income of $114,000. Approximately, the crux is same. Your portfolio is sitting at 2.85 million. But again, lamest numbers, the strategy works similar. Coming back, how do I acquire my properties? Which is really important. One thing that I've learned is property in Asian countries is really different. It's all intuition based because there are no stats available. No stats at all. The best guide are your friends, uncles, aunts, dads, moms who've already bought in the areas you've bought. But people try to replicate the same thing here. So I've seen you follow the infrastructure, look at the demographic, which plays a big role in the property growth, and the premium that you pay on the properties. Look at undervalued pockets. If you're in Sydney, you'll find one suburb which may be not near to a train station but comparatively cheaper, gives you the best entry point. I've seen owner occupiers, for example, they'll only go to the next suburb when they're priced out of this suburb. However, if you can be a bit accommodative, move in early, you may make money there. Different economic factors, you've got stock on market, you've got days on market, just too much stats, but you can go to council websites to look at the development activity in certain areas. So Australia is the land of opportunity. You can go, you can check everything. You can even look at the aviation stats and look at which are the busiest airports. It's just awesome what you can do with stats and data. Look at what the owner occupier versus the investor ratio is. Look at what the development activity is. All of these will help you understand the location and the prospects in a location. I'll even go to an extent look at last 1, 3, 5, 7 and 10 years growth to see where there's the maximum potential of growth. I've invested in properties which has given me 50% growth in 2 years time. Buying something for 420, selling for 666, coming out within 2.5 years. Coming back, we've finalized the location, what to look in a property, the due diligence. I would look at development approvals in the surrounding of your property. What would due diligence cover? Bushfire, flood zones, heritage listed properties. You look at transmission wires, how far are transmission wires, symmetries, facing, fronting or backing onto major roads, cul-de-sacs. Everything adds or negates certain price point in the property. In Perth, for example, even in Sydney, you'll find those narrow blocks where the garage is at the back and there's a lane at the back. Would it sell at the same price? Usually not. But would it make a good asset? Again, it depends on the price. It's investment. We don't have to put our heart into it. We just have to think what works in value. On the ground visits, I don't prefer buying anything unseen, but you've got services, you can engage property managers who can do inspections on your behalf. Understand what the agent is doing. Negotiation is really important, just covering in 3 minutes. Understanding the agent's working style, understand why vendor wants to sell. Sometimes even the real estate agents won't ask these details to the vendor. You can take advantage of certain facts as buyers. Always ask, will you take our offer and go to other buyers? Or you'll take one offer as a full and final. If I get an answer, oh, I'll go to other buyers, I said then go to everyone and come back to me with what you can close the property at. If I can pay you, I'll pay you, otherwise I'll say a no. Why? Because it takes a lot of time for you to do the due diligence on every single property. And you...
That question that you should be asking.
So I would ask what the agent's working style is, right? If the agent would say, look, some agents would say, I'll take the top 3 offers and I'll come back to the top 3 buyers, right? And in some states, it's not legal to disclose the highest price, and they'll simply tell you, put your best foot forward.
Yeah, I've heard that. They say that.
Yeah, so I will ask the same question thrice. Sometimes you get an answer, or I'll ask indication. Do you think the property has gone past certain price? Oh, I can't tell you, but I'm not asking about other offers. I'm simply understanding where I should place my offer. Be persistent. Sometimes it works. I've heard agents sometimes, agent is himself or herself not convinced on the value of the property. That's where the opportunity is. But that's just understanding the psyche and working style of the agent, vendor circumstances, any issues with the property, bring them up front. If you feel the agent's not quoting the right price, please do ask for comparables. That's how we would find the value as well. Some agents would just price the property. When I tell them, I don't see any comparable, can you back the price? Can you give me an evidence? Oh, sorry, that's what the vendor is asking. I'm not sure. You pay me, that's fine, otherwise just leave it. You see, so it's easy then for you to move on and spend your time on some other property. Your time's equally valued as buyers. That's what I strongly believe, and that's why I've been buyer's agent. We don't do any selling yet. So, yeah, then reviewing the building and pest reports, make sure your professional teams are ready and on standby. I've seen many deals just not going through because either your professionals were not ready or not available. Please do ask them, if I come back to you, what's your turnaround time? And that will help you secure your property sooner. Some markets like Perth, you need to sometimes close a property within 4 to 6 hours, else you're missing out. What you're getting on market is either you're paying a premium price or you're buying an asset which no one else wants. Which in a growing and hot market is good. The moment market turns cold, guess what? That house stays on the market for 60 to 80 days if you have to sell it or more. Yeah, so I've covered the negotiation, which it's my favorite topic for any conference. But post-purchase, personally, I would look at aligning a property manager, a depreciation consultant, look at minor repairs support, which your property manager should be able to take care of. If not, easy to engage a building and pest inspector, those who have builder's license or have that knowledge. So ask them, I don't want to quote you anywhere, but can you help me with some estimated repairs? Which gives you an idea, even asking the agent, are you aware of any repairs that have to be conducted on a property? Look, if you don't ask, you don't get. That's a very simple principle in real estate. You ask the right questions, you get the right answers. And then yes, in doing that, aligning your team, it reduces your out-of-pocket costs. For every month the property is on market, you're missing out on rent and you're paying the installments. Lastly, portfolio review. As I've said, it's very important to see where you are in the journey, what type of asset suits you best. Buying solely for tax reductions is, to me, not a right strategy. You won't buy a business running at a loss just because it gives you tax benefit. At the end of the day, $1 in my pocket and I giving back 30 cents is way better than me spending $1 and getting back 30 cents. So just be careful of what you are after in the property that you're buying, even your own homes. Lastly, it's just some acquisitions we've done. I won't bore you with it. I think I'm right on time, 20 minutes. That's just homes and properties we purchased. But yes, even if you have busy professionals like real estate agents themselves, mortgage brokers, accountants, building and pest inspectors, some acquisitions we've done even for those professionals. So don't hesitate in recommending if you see someone really busy and who needs support. Rest, that's about me, us. We've still got 10 minutes if anyone wants to ask any questions. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to pop on a booth. Take the bottle opener which has my picture on it. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope I was able to add some sort of value to your journey. If there's anything, do follow us on socials. But otherwise, any questions, either email or we'll send you an email with the presentation. Do come back with your questions. I'd love to answer those. Thanks for your time, everyone.